Today we're going to be shooting out 4 different modelers of the budget variety.
You think you're richer than me, you're not. Maybe you just don't know how to manage money.
What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Taylor and I do all sorts of guitar related stuff like this on my channel. If that's something you enjoy, make sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my uploads. Today we're going to be shooting out 4 different inexpensive guitar effects processors. Also, this video is sponsored by DistroKid, but we'll come back to that in a minute. If you've been watching my channel, you have probably seen reviews for all of these, but I wanted to get all of these modelers in one video and shoot them out, and the price range that we're looking at is I think like $88 on the low end, which would be the Zoom G1.4, and then all of the other modelers are right around $150. We're going to be shooting out the Zoom G1.4. The Zoom G1.4 is the most inexpensive out of all of the modelers we're shooting out today, and although it's really inexpensive, it doesn't sound that bad, and it also runs off of AA batteries, which is kind of cool, especially if you want something a little bit more portable. You know, if you want to like sit down on the beach in the sand and play your guitar or something like that. I'm driving up and down this demo street. I got behind you, babe, dwelling in a hill. My main gripe with this modeler is just the user interface, especially for a beginner or someone who doesn't know their way around a guitar effects processor. This might be a little bit confusing. But because this is so inexpensive, it will be really interesting to see how this stacks up against the other modelers since it comes in at such a low price point. The MOOER GE150. The GE150 is one of MOOER's most inexpensive guitar effects processors, and although it has kind of a cheap housing, like this bottom part's plastic and this top part's pretty thin metal, it sounds almost identical to the GE200, which is almost twice as expensive as this. They have pretty much the same functionality as far as I can tell, and I really like the MOOER stuff, especially the micro preamps and the preamp live. I think those are some of my favorite pieces of gear that have come out in the last few years. The Valeton GP-100. Although the GP-100 does not have as many amps and effects and controllable parameters as maybe the GE-150, it still sounds really good, and it comes in a full metal housing. I mean, this thing's built like a tank, so, you know, if you wanted to take this around and play at your local coffee shop or whatever. This would probably hold up really well. It is definitely the most sturdy out of all the guitar effects processors that we are looking at today. And the NUX MG100. Now the NUX MG300 is a really interesting guitar effects processor. The build quality is somewhere in between the MOOER GE150 and the Valeton GP100, and even though it's got this tiny little panel on it, everything is in full color, and the user interface looks really cool. And also, I really like the software that comes with this. I think the software is some of the most easy to use, user-friendly software that I've ever used with any modeler. I think it's very important to have a user-friendly interface, and NUX really nailed it with their user interface for the MG300. Okay, so we're gonna shoot all 4 of these guitar effects processors out in a mix. We'll shoot them out with both stock cab IRs as well as a third-party IR, so that way we can take that variable out of the equation, since most of them allow you to load your own IR files. I'm gonna build a patch in each one with a Mesa Rectifier Series amp boosted with a tube screamer and with the matching Mesa 4x12 Recto cabinet. The third-party IR that I'm gonna be using is an IR that I created of one of my Mesa oversized rectifier cabinets back here, one of those, which you can download via a link in the description below if you'd like to check that out. Oh yeah, about today's sponsor, DistroKid. Now there's a couple things that I want to address with you guys directly about DistroKid before I get into the ad. DistroKid approached me about a sponsored video, and of course, being a small YouTuber, I'd really like to have a sponsored video because, you know, it's nice to make money for all the hard work that I put in on these things. But I have an ethical obligation to my audience, especially my audience outside the US, to address the recent issues that some people outside of the US were having with DistroKid. First of all, I'm not an accountant, and I'm definitely not a lawyer. That's why I pay someone else to do that, is so that I don't have to do it, and I know that I'm well within the lines of the law when it comes to things like taxes and etc., all that stuff. Like many of you, I saw the Dan Vasc video where he had complained that DistroKid had robbed him by holding some of his earnings for tax purposes. Here's DistroKid's response, and I'm gonna leave links for everything in the description below. That way, if you wanna read over this information yourself, you're more than welcome to. As it was explained to me by our finance team at the direction of many tax advisors, DistroKid is the withholding agent as payer of funds to individuals and or entities outside of the US. All distributors based in the US are required to withhold and report the withheld earnings to the IRS. Depending on local tax laws, my understanding is that these withheld earnings can potentially be claimed as a credit on local tax return. I'm obviously not qualified to know the ins and outs of how it all works, so none of this is tax advice, but that's how it has been explained to me, and I hope it helps. Now, after talking to the rep over at DistroKid that I email back and forth when we do these sponsored videos, I felt pretty good that DistroKid wasn't doing anything unethical and that they were just trying to follow the law as it's written in the United States. Again, this isn't legal advice, and I would always suggest that you hire an accountant no matter what, even if you're just filing taxes for your day job, because a good accountant will save you more in taxes than they usually cost. So again, I felt like I had an ethical obligation to address this, especially for my subscribers that are outside of the US. So now that we've cleared all that up, let's talk about hyperfollow. If you guys are like me and you're on multiple social media platforms, it's really important to have one link that leads to all of your music on all the different streaming services. And that's where hyperfollow comes in. Hyperfollow is a completely free tool for anyone that's using DistroKid, and it's really cool. As soon as you finish an upload to DistroKid, you can start marketing your release and collecting pre-saves on Spotify, including fan email addresses with hyperfollow. And then when your release goes live on the release date, hyperfollow will automatically update to include links to all the streaming services. You're even able to edit your hyperfollow page to include links to your Bandcamp and your videos, etc. Also, your hyperfollow link never changes, so you never have to update your marketing copy or your social media posts or wherever else that you post your hyperfollow link. You can find your hyperfollow link on your DistroKid album page. And with all that out of the way, let's get over to the demo. Alright, what do you guys think of these inexpensive floor modelers? Which one's your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much to my patrons for helping support the channel, and if you'd like to help support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Also, there's a link to my Discord server if you'd like to talk with me and engage with the community a little bit. It's a really cool place, you should check it out. And lastly, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.